covered the history and how to get there. So we're going to replay some of the interview I did with Alex back in October, and we're going to cover the basics about where Malta is.
Well, Malta is in the center of the Mediterranean, just 60 miles off the southern coast of Sicily. Very strategic in terms of lying at the center of the Mediterranean.
With its location, I'm sure it's got quite a history. Is it possible to give a brief rundown on what's happened to the islands?
Well, it's you're right to point out that Malta has gone through an incredible history spanning over 7,000 years. And this has seen Malta occupied by the Phoenicians, the Romans, the Normans, the French, Knights of St. John, which is probably one of the more important dates in our history, and the French and the British. Malta itself gained independence from the UK in 1964, and we actually became a republic in 1974. A nice day to be celebrating this year. We've celebrated 50 years of independence. We joined the European Union in 2004, so that's 10 years ago, and in 2008, 4 years later, we became part of the Eurozone.
So quite a lot's happened to somewhere that's relatively small, I guess.
It is indeed a population of just over 415,000 people, so on a just over 360 square kilometers of space. So it's quite a small country.
You said you're in the Mediterranean, but what's the weather like? Is there a best time of year to visit?
Well, we've got an all year round climate, and yes, we do have summer and we do have winter. Summer, spring and autumn is ideal for swimming, but we do have a very mild climate in winter as well, where the sun shines regularly. I wouldn't say it's swimming weather in sort of January and February. However, it's not uncommon to see some of our fellow British people jumping in the sea at this time of the year. However, in terms of temperature, we're looking at high 20s, low 30s between June and September. Cooling off to mid-20s around spring and autumn time, and it goes down to about between 12 and 15 degrees over winter time, which is for us mid-November to mid-February.
The weather I had where I am yesterday, I could do with it being there right now, actually. It was a bit horrible here.
Don't we all?
How easy is it to get to Malta from the UK, and how long does it take?
Well, Malta is extremely easy to get to from the UK. This has been our drive over the past few years of making Malta more accessible to the British market. It's a 3-hour flight from mainland from your main airports, Heathrow and Gatwick. We do have a number of regional airports such as Leeds, Bradford, Newcastle, Prestwick. And the East Midlands area. So we are connected to no less than 17 national and regional airports within the UK. We've got the likes of our national carrier Air Malta flying there on a daily basis. We've got British Airways travelling out of Gatwick on a daily basis in the summertime and 5 times a week in the wintertime. We've got Ryanair, EasyJet, and next year Jet2 will start operating to Malta from 5 airports.
So you do make it very easy to get there, don't you?
It is indeed, yes, It is indeed.
Before you go, do you need any medical jabs or tablets or anything like that?
No, we don't. We're part of the European Union, part of Schengen, and no jabs are needed.
That's good to hear, because I'm not very good when it comes to needles.
Neither am I.
You're listening to the John Guinn Travel Show on seclosounds.org. We're reaching the end of my review of 2004 Part 2. We've just got November and December left. I'm not replaying anything from December because it was only last month. So in December we covered Hawaii, Finland, Abu Dhabi, Botswana, Secret Vineyards, who do tours around Hungary, so you can check out some Hungarian wine, Manitoba in Canada, and Miami. In November, I spoke to people about the Harley Museum in America, touring the world on a Harley motorcycle, London helicopter, which is a trip I've got to get myself on, to go down the Thames in a helicopter. Over the Thames, not down the Thames, that's better. Serbia. We replayed an interview I did with Sonia for her Sonia Travels YouTube channel, which is well worth subscribing to for lots of little helpful tips on travelling. And also covered Washington State as well, which you may or may not know was in that trilogy of werewolf and Dracula films. Twilight, that's the word I was looking for. But my last replay interview for this review show is going to be with the YMCA. I had Caroline White on the show in November, who's the CEO of YHA England and Wales. And this little brief excerpt where we're talking about the basic history of the Youth Hostel Association in general and England and Wales in particular.
Well, Youth Hostel started in Germany, actually, in over 100 years ago, 1909. Somebody called Richard Sherman, who really he started that movement to get young people out into the countryside. And it came into this country, well, into England and Wales, in the late 20s. So YHA was founded in 1930.
Before this started, what was available for people who wanted to travel, young people?
Well, there was very little, and in fact, because there was no budget accommodation, and YHA grew out of, quite a lot of the founders came from the Quaker movement, and also the open access. So you might remember the Kinder Trespass in the 1920s. So it came really to enable young people to get out of what were at the time quite polluted cities with all the industry into the countryside, because there was really no other accommodation for them apart from camping.
Where was the first youth hostel in the UK opened?
The first youth hostel was opened in 1930, and it was in North Wales. And it grew very quickly from there. By 1931, there were 75 youth hostels across England and Wales.
Is this first one still open now?
Pennant Hall isn't open, but some of the early hostels we still have in the network, including Idwell Cottage, which is a lovely little cottage, small self-catering hostel in Snowdonia, and Street is still open as well. We lease that, and we continue to lease that, and it's just by Glastonbury, again, a small self-catering hostel.
What did these first hostels offer the visitor?
Well, in the early days, it was quite basic, actually. You basically had a bed for the night, and you had cooking facilities, and you normally had a warden who was responsible for ensuring that no one slept in the same dorm, and that it was locked up and lights were out at 11 o'clock. It was also very much linked to the community, so people would be very much part of helping to wash up, maybe prepare food, do chores around the hostel, very much the tradition of everybody mucking in together. So
the warden kept the different sexes apart?
Well, they were obviously separate dormitories. Yep. The individual didn't themselves. There were separate dorms. There would have been kitchens there, or spaces that people could have cooked on primer stoves. And often there wasn't in some of the early hostels, there was no hot water. If you go back into some of the old report YHA magazines and things back in the 1940s and 50s, there is a big debate about whether youth hostels should have hot water or not.
Yes, I'll prefer it if it had hot water.
I think we'd all agree that they should have hot water today, but it's an example of social history and how expectations and things have changed over the years.
Back in the beginning, was it open to everybody, or was there an age limit or anything like that?
No, YHA has always been, the Youth Hostel Association has always been for young people, but it's been always inclusive, so we are open to anyone to come even today. And it wasn't always, although it started off in the countryside, their first city hostel opened in about 1932 in London, so they moved quite quickly into cities as well as the countryside.
I hope you enjoyed listening to some of the interviews I did between July and November this year, of 2014. I've got to stop saying this year. It was last year. I will be putting up a list of all the shows I did from July to December at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show, so you can have a look to see what was covered during this period. I've already posted up the list of the shows between January and June. If there's anything you would like featured during 2015 on the Travel Show, please do let me know. You can put a little message on the page, facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show, and I'll do my best to get somebody on to talk about it. Thank you for listening during 2014. I hope to keep you with me during 2015. A Happy New Year, and please make sure you listen next time on the John Guinn Travel Show on seclosounds.org, where each week I'm checking it out before you check in.
MK Pulse proudly sponsors Seclo Sounds. MK Pulse is Milton Keynes' local magazine, bringing helpful information on food, health, fashion, money, travel, culture and much more to 84,000 people every month. Plus news, views and what's on from around the city. If it's happening in Milton Keynes, it's in MK Pulse and it's available online at www.mkpulse.co.uk. MK Pulse and Seclo Sounds, the heart and soul of the city.